Hi everyone, Dr. Rebecca Harvey here. I am a psychologist in Dallas, Texas, and I am the owner of Total Wellness Consultants and Heart Warriors. Both are companies aimed at helping people be their most authentic and courageous self as they live a life of health, finding balance in mind, body, and spirit. So I am here today as a follow-up to the discussion on depression that I previously posted. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about catalysts for depression, things that keep depression kind of going, and ways or tips of things you can do to help support yourself during times of depression, either while you're waiting for it to lift or to help kind of get the ball rolling and get yourself into a healthier place. So one of the main things that really holds depression in place is rumination. What we think about really dictates how we feel. There's just no question about that. And so if we are ruminating on negative thoughts, having negative self-talk, we're likely going to feel like crap. That's just kind of how that goes. So really keeping your eye on what you're doing with your mind and where your thoughts are going. Super important. Which brings me to the next point, which is focusing on the negative. So when we're only scanning the environment for things that are not going well, ways that people are disappointing us, things that didn't work out, feeling bad for ourselves we wake up and we're sad that day already as we're waking up, or whatever the case may be, when we're only focusing on the negative, we really are creating a feedback loop in our brain and our nervous system to continue perpetuating those negative feelings and keep us stuck in that depression and those feelings of despair. So while it does not always feel like it, you do actually have control over grabbing hold of those thoughts and finding some positivity, which I'll get to later. Living in the past is a really big culprit. I often say to people, depression tends to find itself in the past, whereas anxiety tends to find itself in the future, as where our thoughts are. But really, when we're in a depressed state, we can often be predicting that negative things will happen and remembering all of the things that didn't go well and didn't go as we would have liked. So we want to try to be in the present moment. I will get to that. And then last of all, one thing that I see as a major factor is when there's just no structure, especially for clients that I see that are really hunkered down in a long period of depression. What tends to happen is that they begin to check out of obligations and duties, call in sick to work, not get out of bed, or they're just kind of going through the motions. And when they find free time, it's very unstructured and leaves a lot of time for unproductive thinking. Okay, so those being the things that are unproductive and can help perpetuate depression, which we do not want, let's shift gears now and talk about some things that you can do. I'm going to give you 8 simple things that you can do. Some of them may not seem simple, but when we break it down, they really are. And then what I'm going to ask that you guys do is that you follow up with the hashtag what works for you. And with that, I want you to let me know there are so many things that we do that help keep us uplifted and supported, or at least just get us through when we're having a difficult emotional space in our life. So the important thing is knowing what works for you. What works for one person is not what works for everyone, and it really doesn't matter what works for your neighbor or someone else you know. You need to figure out what are your triggers, how can you interrupt them, and what supportive measures work for you. So let's get on to those supportive measures. Number 1, being in the present moment. So some ways that you can cultivate this are by practicing meditation. I'm always pushing meditation. I'm such a huge fan of meditation. That's why I teach it. That's why I encourage my clients to do meditation and yoga. There are so many different kinds of meditation. It's pretty accessible these days. But in a really simple level, you can just work with mindfulness, which is moment to moment, breath to breath, being in the present moment. That's it. The more we cultivate being in the present moment rather than being lost in the past of our thoughts or the future of what may never happen, we can regulate our mood in a much better way. That allows us, as I mentioned before, to get present with the physical sensation and utilize that 90-second rule. So mindfulness and being in the present moment. The second thing, number 2, focusing on positive things. So focusing on the things that are going well, even if they're really small. Noticing when someone holds the elevator door for you. Being happy when you almost drop that thing but you catch it. Being thankful in those moments. Noticing the small positive things. They will add up. Watching that positive self-talk. This is huge. I can choose to make a mistake and say to myself, oh my God, you're so stupid. which really feels like crap, so I don't do that. Or I can say, okay, that didn't go as I would have liked, but I will do that differently next time, duly noted. It's just a gentler way to be with myself. If I really want to be supportive, I can say, how would I have liked to have done that differently? Or, and feel good about that I have an idea of how I could do it differently. Or I could say something compassionate to myself, like, you did the best you could, and there's always next time. Those kinds of things. So positive self-talk. One thing that really helps with this, I find, is to keep a journal. So a gratitude journal is great. I love doing a gratitude journal, or even a positivity journal, making a note of things that went really well that day. One challenge that I give people sometimes is to say 5 nice things that day. They can be 5 nice things you say to yourself or to someone in passing that day, which is a really good way to get you out of your house if you're someone who isolates during depression. Number 3, create some structure. So if you are someone who isolates in your house, find ways to get out of your house. Find things that are time-stamped and goal-oriented. Make a calendar, make a schedule, and hold yourself to it. Even if it's doing small things like chores around the house, that distraction will totally help you, and you feel productive, like you achieved something and are accomplished at the end of the day. But structure in things to do that give you some hope of not spending your time just sitting around ruminating or sleeping the day away. Number 4, hobbies. Hobbies are great. Hobbies help us be in the present moment. They bring us a little bit of joy. They are a great distraction from the negative self-talk that's going on, or whatever undesirable thing may be happening in our life that's pulling for our attention. So some hobbies include, reading, gardening, which is one of my favorites. I love to do arts and crafts. I sew. I like to scrapbook and do all kinds of different things, but that could be different. I have clients who are renowned artists, and they're fantastic, and for them that's a great thing, but for someone who's not good at art, that might not be such an awesome plan. So think of something that you're good at. It doesn't need to be productive, it just needs to be something enjoyable. Hobbies. Number 5 is exercise. So anyone who knows me knows this is my number 1 support skill. I probably give myself really 1 day of not exercising a week. This is my lifesaver. In fact, when I've talked previously about the big 3, exercise is up there in that big 3 for mood and mental health regulation. This does not mean that you've got to be running marathons or power lifting or something like that. Even if you're walking around your block at a grandma pace for 30 to 45 minutes a day, that is something phenomenal for your body. So get out and exercise. It regulates the systems in your brain, and it uplifts your mood. Number 6, friends, support. Seek out support, talk to friends, spend time with friends, visit with friends. I get it. It will not be as enjoyable as when you're not in a funk, but it's something, and it's something that lifts your mood, and it breaks up the monotony. And even if your friend is a furry animal, spend time with that friend. I love snuggling with my dogs when I'm having a down day, because they don't really ever seem to be down, and something about their silliness is contagious for me. So that's a great one. Number 7 is release and let go. So release and let go. You could write something down, tear it up and throw it away. You could be in the moment, cry it out, and then decide, okay, I'm done now. Whatever the experience is, have it, acknowledge it, and then release it and let it go. Okay, number 8, ask a friend what they do when they are trying to pick themselves up. There might be something that you've never thought of that would be brilliant, which is why, as I'm closing out now, I'm asking you guys to do hashtag what works for you. So I want you guys to hashtag that. I'll include that in the description of this, and I want you guys to share ideas. Listen, at different times of our life, we all need support to one degree or another. So be that support for someone when you can, and let's start that out with what works for you. All right, so I'm going to close out here. Dr. Rebecca Harvey, Total Wellness Consultants and Heart Warriors. Find me on social media. Hit me up with your questions there and comments on future blogs you would like to see.